my morning routine. Like when I was in the army, I'd wake up and within 7 minutes or 8 minutes, I'd be out the door in the car on the way to work. It takes me 3 hours some mornings to go from suppository getting put in to emptying my bowels to having a shower to getting back in bed to dressing myself and getting in my chair just to start the day. So like these are things that were so hard to adjust to that now I'm okay with.
Hi guys, this podcast explores the importance of our connection, well-being and mental health. To reason with someone is to motivate them to do or accept topics, ideas and issues through discussion and having conversations. This podcast is for those that want to raise their awareness, change their perspective or just have a good time. My vision is to help people find reason to live, to grow and to understand. I do that through this podcast as well as counselling individuals that want to help themselves.
No, he needs to know.
I just think he's gonna talk and it's gonna make a lot of sense.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
One man, one podcast. 3, 2, 1.
Reason With Me podcast, episode 18.
Welcome back, guys. Season 4 has been one hell of a ride. I'm really enjoying the guests that we've had on. Today, I want to introduce Joel Sardi. Joel is a C5 quadriplegic. He had an accident about 6 years ago. Joel talks really openly and honestly about his journey so far. We talk about lots of different topics of connection, mental health, our well-being, how he has been through such adversity and the perception that he chooses to get through and the choice that he makes every day to keep on going on and to be able to just see life in a different perspective once he's now had to live in this new adapted way of being. So I won't give too much away, but it's such an inspiring, very motivational, and just a nice eye-opener for how we can choose to live our life and how we can get through adversity no matter what it is that we face. So welcome, Joel. Joel, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks, mate. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm super stoked to have you here. We'll get straight into it. Hey, tell me, who the hell are you and what's your story? What do you do?
Well, funnily enough, my name is Joel. I had an accident about 6 years ago that changed my life, but since then I've been on a bit of a journey of changing other people's lives and also learning a bit about life myself. Before then, I was in the army for 5 years in the infantry, and that really shaped a lot of my character that I now sort of lean on today. But now I'm a married man and about to have a child, and
Yes,
life is getting bigger and better for me.
man, that's so good. I saw that recent post that you guys, I guess, finding out. That was so nice. Because I think I watched the video of you before, like just before that, of like, I guess a bit of your journey. So it was like, oh yeah, he's made it. He's done. He's married, a kid now. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Tell me a bit more. Tell me what the bit of that story and how that all came to be. So you said 6 years ago was a bit of an accident you had. What happened, man? Yeah,
so I sustained a spinal cord injury 6 years ago. I was at a function for football, and I was on top of a flight of stairs, and I fell over the hand railing. Fell onto my back and shattered my C5 vertebrae, rendering me a quadriplegic immediately. So nothing from my chest down is functional. And you think just by looking at me physically that, yeah, right, your body doesn't work and you need a wheelchair to get around. But realistically, it's like the iceberg. It's only the tip of the problem. The rest of it below the surface, and we're talking about the mental struggles, the emotional strain it puts on my family, but then also inside my own body, like the challenges I cop with. That would be like I can't regulate my temperature, so why I'm wearing a scarf and a hoodie and a puff jacket inside a car just to stay warm. In the summer, I can't sweat, So I can overheat very easily. So once it hits about 25, 26 degrees for a long period, I'll overheat. I'm incontinent, so I can't control my bowel or bladder, and there's no sexual function, which for a young man is debilitating, or is really really shit to accept. And along with the no movement comes atrophy, so my muscles deteriorate. Now, for someone that knew me before my accident, I was physically fit. I loved the gym. I had a fair bit of muscle around my body. Now I'm just all skin and bones. And that's another one of those adjustments I've had to come to accepting and sort of come to love about myself, I think, because that's me, and it will be me now forever. For so long, I was always fighting with like how I used to be and how I am now, but now I'm okay with that.
Yeah, man. So I think that I mean, it's a good analogy. The iceberg, like, it creates such a reality for people, because we see people, I guess, in wheelchairs all the time, and I guess we do feel like, oh, that's a shame. I wonder what happens, sort of thing. But then I don't know how many people stop and think how many other things and how much that ripples out into someone's life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that ripple effect I haven't really spoken much about, but when someone dies, it's not just the person that dies it's obviously affected, but the people around them and their friends and their network. And when I had my accident, same thing. I'm not saying obviously I didn't die, but to say that I'm the only one going through this would be really selfish, because my mum and dad had to sacrifice so much. My girlfriend, my uncle, my brother, my mates. We all had a bit of an injury that day, and we've all sort of come to terms with it and started to live with it.
A lot of the time, recovery isn't just about one person. In fact, if it was, we wouldn't have a lot of people come through and be able to be in that journey of recovery.
Yeah, it definitely takes a village. It takes a village to raise someone and to get through it.
Yeah. So 6 years, my man, imagine that's been a massive whirlwind. Like, and I imagine it's changed over time too, but where do you pull your strength to keep going with the attitude and the gratitude that you have?
I I think that there's so many people behind me. Like, I've got my parents sacrificed so much growing up. So when we were growing up, my brother and I, to give us the opportunities we had to send me to a good school and to let me play any sport I wanted, there was nothing we missed out on. And even more so after my injury. And my girlfriend, who hands down has been absolutely incredible from day one. And everybody that knows Elisa, and is now my wife, knows how amazing she has been. And she's got an amazing family of uncles and aunties and cousins, and her mum and dad and her brother. So, like, there's been so many people behind me moving me forward. And I mean, my first fundraiser I had, which was probably 8 months after my injury, there was like 500 people there. So, like, I've never ever been alone in this. So it's been very, very easy to keep going. And it's never really been in me to just quit. Like, yeah, I've had my moments where I say, I can't do it. Throw my hands in the air and cry and crack the shits for a few hours. But that sort of disappears, and accept what is, and just keep moving forward. But also the thing that I get my strength from as well, our army training.
Yeah.
Giving up was never an option, and it didn't matter how sore we were, or I just always think about PT. When we'd be in PT, we'd be getting absolutely flogged by the PTI, and it didn't matter how sore you were, they always expected you to go further and further because they knew that you could go further. And like now, like, I know that I can always push through. I shit my pants, or it took me ages to get ready this morning, or I can't go hang out with my mates because I've got a bladder infection, or just, a myriad of things because of my injury that impede my lifestyle. I have to cop it on the chin now, and it just is. It is that, yeah.
And I think that's really important. It's like there's there's a massive element of I guess the people that are around you that are supporting you in this. It is obviously a massive element of strength. But again, there's elements of just that. I don't know, your ability to be able to do that in your mind. No one's in there with you. That's all you, man. And that's a tough place to be sometimes, as you said. And I think coming out on top of that, and yeah, of course, man, we're human. We're going to have our bad days, bad moments, but you choose not to let that beat you at the end of the day. And that's tough. And that's, resilience, I guess, for you.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has a choice every morning when they wake up, and my choice could be to lay in bed and wallow in my sorrow and ask why me, like I did early days, but that only gets me one place, and that's in that same place I was when I started whinging. And I miss out on things, and the world doesn't stop just because Joel's feeling sorry for himself or because someone's not feeling good today. Like those opportunities are going to be missed. So I'd rather be witnessing them and be there in a wheelchair as a quadriplegic than be in bed feeling sorry for myself.
So this podcast essentially is all about connection, mental health, and well-being. That's, I guess, the big crux of what we end up talking about. And I guess what I wanted you on for is really to look more into the psychological side of your injury and the journey that's been, because I think that's missed. That's missed with any injury and a lot of trauma events. Even this pandemic that we're going through, a lot of the psychological side of thing is missed about how people are coping and how people are dealing with their stuff. So when we look at your journey and the things that you've gone through, I guess I'll start with the mental health side of things. What's that been like for you, and how has it paved the way for today?
So the mental health journey, I put myself through a lot of hell for the first 4 years of my injury, and I didn't really identify or I didn't really know why I was doing the things I was doing or why I kept behaving the way I was until I actually saw a psychologist.
Yeah.
There was early days where I was feeling sorry for myself, so I just set my goals and I got through them. I got through like the hard days, and I was able to set long-term goals and achieve some of those things. But then to talk about like the mental health side of things, when I would go out, I'd never feel comfortable in my wheelchair. I couldn't wait to leave. I'd sit in the corner so no one would see me, or I'd be against the wall, so I'd be the smallest shape possible and no one would notice me. Or if I was in an area where I couldn't use those vices, I'd get absolutely obliterated drunk. So I wasn't conscious of where I was or what was going on. So then after a few of those episodes, it kept happening to the point where I wouldn't want to leave the house. I went and saw a psychologist and got help for that. But then early days with my injury, there was a lot of adjustment. So the adjustment from being the confident, competent, let's just say soldier, because that's what my job was. But really, as a young man about to start his life, and I thought that life was only getting better, and it was, and it still is. But as soon as I had my accident, everything was stripped away from me.
Yeah.
And everything that I thought was good about life was gone. Like that, the ability to wake up on a Saturday morning after a week of work and think, I've got the next few hours before footy. I'm going to get into my clothes, trackies, whatever, comfortable clothes, go for a walk down to the cafe, order a pastry, have a coffee, sit there, eat it, drink it, call mum and dad, and walk back home, pack my own footy gear, slowly make my way down to footy and play a game. And that was like the things I really loved about life, the independence and the fact that I was on my own doing all that. And then when I broke my neck, I couldn't even scratch my face for the first few days. And I couldn't feed myself. Definitely couldn't dress myself. And it was these simple things like I just touched on that were so hard to come to grips with. And I'm cool with them now, 6 years on, I'm fine with it. But early days, that transition and adjustment was was absolute hell. And one of the other comparisons I draw on when I do my speech is like my morning routine. Like when I was in the army, I'd wake up and within 7 minutes or 8 minutes, I'd be out the door in the car on the way to work. It takes me 3 hours some mornings to go from suppository getting put in to emptying my bowels to having a shower to getting back in bed to dressing myself and getting in my chair just to start the day. So like these are things that were so hard to adjust to that now I'm okay with.
Yeah.
And that was a massive strain on, I suppose, my mental health early days.
Yeah. And how did you become okay with it? What did you do?
I don't know. I don't think it was like a Band-Aid or a simple thing that I did that saved it, but I think I just accepted that this was life and this is how it was going to be. And instead of fighting with what I couldn't do, I needed to accept what I could do, and also accept that what had happened, like my injury, my fall, and that old Joel was in the past, and that wasn't me. That was a different person. Wheelchair Joel is a new person, and the wheelchair life is a new life. I need to accept, because I'll be fighting this battle in my head for the rest of my life.
Yep.
About like, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. That would kill me. So I slowly came to grips and came to accept what was the new normal. Like I was saying, I come to accept like how I physically look, like the skinny legs and the skinny body and the no definition of muscle in my arms or everything like that.
Yeah. So acceptance, and then I guess coming into the reality of this is me, and that was then, and this is now, sort of mind frame. And again, I guess the challenge and acceptance that yes, this is going to be the battle that I have in my head. So I can make it worse by dwelling on it, or I can ease it by accepting and sort of being okay with who I am now.
Yeah, 100%. Like to go back to like my school days, I remember a teacher taught me like the term "what if" is the biggest killer. Like, what if I didn't go to that function that night? I wouldn't have fallen down the stairs. What if? No one knows what could have happened. And that mindset of, I wish I could do things like I used to be, it sort of falls under that same umbrella of what if. You can't control it.
Yeah.
And you'll fight that battle, or I'll fight that battle in my head for the rest of my life if I don't just drop it and cut it out.
I think that you were forced to decide these things as well. You talk about choice. I think that's so true. We wake up and we have a choice every single day, but you're sort of forced into change and forced into the reality of something completely different. And that is the case for some people, going through every, crisis and different things that happen in the world or whatever that impact them, but then it passes at times, or we learn to overcome it and stuff like that. But I mean, for you, it's the reality is that's the same every day. So that choice is an everyday thing, and that choice is really important as to whether you're going to be okay or whether you're going to be a fucking blob piece of shit and hate yourself. The reality is that that's tough.
And that's a toxic sort of person to be around, someone who's like you said, blob piece of shit that doesn't want to do anything to feel sorry for himself, and that rubs off on people, and no one wants to be around someone like that.
Oh, then you lose your strength, right? Because then you lose the support and the people that are around you, and that's and they're
the most important parts. Support them.
So tell me about some of the things that this has brought for you, like in terms of connection. We talk about connection being, I guess, what adversity and what acceptance can create in terms of the connection we make with others and connection we make with ourselves. Can you talk a little bit about that as a whole?
Yeah. So when I had my accident, there were people that separated themselves from me, and then there are also people that got closer and really bonded a lot more with me. And then I also came to meeting other people that had gone through adversity and hardship, and really bonding over our adversity together, whether it be other spinal cord injuries or other like really debilitating injuries. So then that like formed a lot of new relationships with me. But then I've also learned that being open with large numbers of people in my talks and talking about my struggles and my weaknesses, and sometimes like I can't help myself, I break down a bit, and I think I've learned to show my weaknesses. And I've learned that, not that I ever thought that like I had that macho mindset, but the whole crying thing, it's fine to cry.
Yeah.
It's natural. And like just going through those experiences and talking about my challenges with other people, I don't know, you just see another aspect to a relationship with people. And even a friend I've known for nearly 20 years opened up to me a few months ago about something, like I won't say what it was or who it was, but told me a condition they had purely because, I don't know, they felt they could connect with me and talk with me because I'd gone through all this adversity. So it's opened up new relationships in my life, and people sometimes say that they're better off after their injury, and I've always called bullshit on that. Like, how could you have a better life after your injury? But there's truth to it. There's not the whole concept is true, but there's truth to it.
I think that it sounds like you learn to be vulnerable with it, and through vulnerability, you can connect and get people to connect to you in a really different and more meaningful way.
Yeah. I always thought that being a man was all you could do physically, and how you were perceived, and how you stood physically, in stature. And then after my injury, all of that was stripped. It was all gone. And then I started to learn that I could still be that man figure in my family's life, and also for Elisa. I support her more these days emotionally than I used to. I may not be able to do anything physically, but it's more about what I can do up here than it is down there. Like below the head, and it's all about how I express my emotions and how we talk. Because that's so much more powerful and so much more effective.
100%. I think that, at the end of the day, the physical side of things isn't ideal, but if your emotions are fucked with that as well, and your psychological health is also, shot, like, it's not manageable at all, man. So I think that's awesome. The fact that you can get to a point and come through this stuff, but then also have like the emotional intelligence that you've gained from it as well, and being able to connect more, like, I think that's awesome. I think that's so powerful as well, that now you have a better understanding of yourself than you did before.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I never used to say I love you to my uncles or family as much as I do now, and I never used to say I'm sorry, or I'm not that good at it now. I still do it, and I'm getting better at it, which is good. There's plenty of upside to that. I can always get better at it, but it never used to come out of me. I was always told how stubborn I was, but now you become more emotionally aware of your surroundings, and it becomes a bit more natural.
Well, that makes up, I would say, more than 50% of us. If we're half physical, half psychological, like, really everything we do relies on the way that we think about everything. And
perception.
We're all about, exactly, it's all about perception. So the growth in that is insane. So where are you at in your journey? Like, what's next for you? Like, where does it sit now? You sound like you're in a great place.
Yeah, I am, mate. Like, Jackson, my life is about to become, I think, amazing. Yeah, I'm about to become a father. I had a moment yesterday. I freaked out. I was thinking to myself, like, how am I going to be like? I'm Joel that lives his own life, that watches basketball and drinks beer at the pub with his mates sometimes, or whatever. Just does what Joel wants to do, and now there's going to be this baby that wants to do what the baby wants to do, and my life is fortunately going to revolve in that. I thought, shit, like, that was a bit of a wake up yesterday, because we're only 12 weeks away now.
Shit.
So like that's where I'm at on that level. But with my journey, with my talks, I'm in a really exciting place at the moment. There's businesses around the country that need to, I don't know, learn a bit about perspective and resilience, and they've come to myself to do some talks and facilitate some meetings for them. And I've added new workshop components to my talk and a new aspect that I'll open up on my next talk. And I just think like it's a really exciting time, and Elisa and I are working really well together, because she does all the management side of things and the paperwork and also the website. And it's just, I don't know, a really exciting time for Joel's journey in the speaking space.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's so good. And that's really, yeah. I think that's just the ability to be able to not only have the resilience that you have and get through the days that you get through, but then also share some of that perception and adversity with others is really powerful, and such good work, which is so cool.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. The gold is when, I call it the gold, like when one of the people I've spoken to puts their hand up and shares their story of adversity, and they break down saying it, which is even more powerful to hear and to witness. And their colleagues don't know that. Their colleagues of 4 or 5 years or more don't know this story about this individual. And it brings the workplace closer together, because this person's opened up their vulnerabilities to the whole workplace. And that's the magic.
That's it. That's magic, man. I love that. I think the fact that you're doing that for yourself and being able to say I love you now. I can support your wife emotionally, but then not only being able to do that in your own world, but then sort of mirror that and demonstrate that into these talks that allow the ripple effect to happen the opposite way, and provide like a massive impact in people to be able to be vulnerable, be able to share, and be able to get, not see it as such a stigmatizing thing, but to see adversity as an opportunity for growth.
Exactly. Yeah. It's an opportunity to grow and blossom as a person. It's not a cripple. Sorry, it's not a cripple. It's not a crutch. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it may sound a bit hippie and like really super optimistic and unrealistic, but it really is. It really is, especially now, like with this lockdown. Like I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I've spent every day with Elisa or my mum and dad or her mum and dad, or with people I want to spend time with. I haven't spent time in traffic, or haven't spent time in the office, hating life or complaining about it. Like it's been a challenge, but it's been so much fun, because there's been so many opportunities presented to me. Like you and I wouldn't be speaking now if we weren't in lockdown. There's no doubt I'd be at work, or you'd be at work, or I'd be at rehab, and this just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, well, that's it, and I'm so grateful for that, man. As I think it's been so good so far. So let's wind down a tiny bit. Tell me, you mentioned basketball, but what do you do for self-care? Like, what's non-negotiable for Joel that you do to, I guess, fill your cup back up?
To fill my cup back up, mate, I make sure I'm in touch with my family every day, whether it be my mum, my dad, my uncle, or my brother, or whoever. I just feel like that connection to my family is so important, even if it's a 2-minute call where we don't really hit much, just to hear their voice. Family is really important to me, and to step away from that, discipline in everything I do, discipline in work, in my exercise, not cutting corners, or in my diet. Like I apply discipline to every element of my day, and it sort of allows me to know that like I can be in control of what I eat. I can be in control of how long I work for. I can be in control of how many rounds I do in my workout. There's a lot of things I'm not really in control of with my body. So it just gives you a little bit of a sense of confidence and control.
Well, it's funny you mentioned how independent you used to be, but it sounds like Joel still does what Joel wants to do, man. Like there's a few things that you can do, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's all about perception.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's good. So, I mean, hopefully one day you write a book, but what would a go-to be? No pressure. What would a book be?
Yeah.
Like a go-to book be? I don't know. You've had 6 years of, I guess, coming to age and coming to where you are now, and obviously
Yeah.
your whole life. But has there been like an inspiring book or something that's really helped guide you?
Um, Funnily enough, I'm known very well for starting a book and reading 20% of it and putting it down and never finishing it.
Guilty.
So
That's it.
yeah, yeah. So I've sort of ventured more so to podcasts, as everyone likes to as well. I like listening to the Rich Dad podcast, just understanding a bit about the world economy and where we're at and finance, because I like to dabble a bit in the stock market. So that's my entertainment and I suppose my book. Sorry to let you down with that one.
That's fine, man. I like that. I actually think that's because you're right, dude. I gotta wake up. Everyone's doing podcasts now. I should probably ask what's your favorite book or podcast. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've had that a few times, man, because I can't read very well. That's why I get everybody else to tell me their go-to books. One day I might read them, if I can.
The last books that I read in succession, and so ironic, was the Ben Cousins book.
Yep.
And that book was probably, looking back, full of maybe mistruths. The James Hurd book, his autobiography, and then there was the Essendon saga that followed. I'm not saying he was to blame, but there seemed to be a bit of adversity following these people, or controversy. And then the Lance Armstrong book. So
Books,
3 athletes. I was
book chooser.
No, they're all gifts to me as well, because I'd injured my back. I was in hospital, and people bought me these books. Like, here, Joel, read these books. Get you back on the bike. It was the Lance Armstrong. It was get you back on the bike, get you back on your feet and moving. I thought, yeah, this bloke's amazing, and I felt invincible after reading it. And I got the Ben Cousins one and the James Hurd one, and I thought, oh, Jesus, I got to stop reading biographies.
Oh God! Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah. I mean, they probably don't pay the way for maybe a good reason why you stop reading or don't read the books anymore.
They're a good story. I'll give them that. Good story.
Yeah, they've done some things. But it's good. It's good to hear that you're still passionate about sport and stuff like that. I think that's also another thing that's really important.
Yeah.
So, Joel, where can people find you at the moment? Like, if businesses, organizations, or just people want to, I guess, follow your journey. Well, how can we get in touch, and how can we find you?
Best way would be through Instagram. It's joels.journey. And then all the details are there. There's like the link in my bio to go to my website, and there's more information there.
All right, cool. Well, I'll put that up on my website. And
Right, Jackson, no worries. Thank you.
Programs and stuff that you so much for being on, Joel. It's such an honor to have you here, and I guess thanks for sharing your story. It's super, super inspiring. It's always great to hear something different in terms of perception.
Yeah, thanks for the time, Jackson. Have a nice morning.
Do you want to find out more about how therapy can help you kick some goals? Go check out findreasontherapy.com.au or the Find Reason Therapy Instagram page.